Hello everyone, I'm now reporting to you from Trump Tower because that's where ASUS has set up their configuration. I'm here with none other than JJ, back by popular demand, one of our favorite guests on Newegg TV. And JJ has a lot of hardware to share with us. And we're going to start from the top, which is the video card that we have set up right over there, which JJ, I asked him about this video card years ago, and he very convincingly lied to me. Not lied, prevaricated. Danced around the question.
Kept confidential.
Kept confidential. Adhered to his company policies to make sure he wouldn't get in trouble, which we won't hold against him. But JJ, we do want as much information as you can possibly give us about the Aries 2, which is not a 7990, it's a 7970X2. So it's got two 7970 gigahertz edition Tahiti XT GPUs in the same video card. And that's about all I know about it so far.
Yeah, well, you actually summed it up almost perfectly. I mean, that's really not much more than needs to be said than that, right? When you talk about taking essentially a 7970 gigahertz card, which is an outstanding card, you know, could be competitively called the fastest graphics card that's out there in the marketplace, and you team it up ×2, you're going to have a beast of a card, and that's what the Aries 2 is. But first and foremost, the really cool thing about it you're going to see is it's a 2-slot card versus historically for our flagships cards it being a 3-slot oriented card, and that actually came from the fact that we have an entirely customized cooling solution on here. So we always of course do a full non-reference design, which always includes the cooling solution, but for this generation we wanted to do something really special. So we actually have air cooling. There's actually an 80 millimeter fan that's down here, that's downward firing, that cools the PCB and the VRM assembly. But then from there, we also have a double wide 120 millimeter equipped fan that's actually also cooling the GPU. So we have a tag team combination to ultimately give us, you know, outstanding thermal performance. And when we talk about really great thermal performance, it's quite solid. You're going to see right here that after we ran about 45 minutes of real-world gameplay, so that was a Hitman Absolution at max settings, some Far Cry 3, some looping of Unigen, and see that our peak temperature never exceeded 53°C.
Wow.
So if that was just on a single GPU in itself, that would have been outstanding. But when we talk about that's the thermal performance that we provided for 2 GPUs running at full bore clock speeds, that's very impressive.
And this is running at 1100 megahertz and 1650 on the memory.
Correct. So there's no downclocking that occurs. You're getting the full level of performance that we can offer. Now, this features, of course, all our non-reference design implementation, like our DigiPlus power design and our SAP power components. And for this generation, it's even more important because without having a really, really high-quality power solution, you can actually have, one, a considerable amount of whine that can occur from some of the components like the chokes, but two, even more importantly, is that the power solution can buckle and you can actually have throttling of the clock speeds. So the card would actually underperform.
Okay.
And that's definitely for a flagship oriented card not what we would want to have happen.
Not at all.
So, you know, that rounds it out. Of course, we're still keeping GPU tweak like we always do, so you still have the ability that if you want to make some adjustments to voltages, your core clock speeds, you know, the fan speeds, that's all going to be end user available. It supports the dual BIOS switch that we have on our 7970 gigahertz card, so you got 5-way affinity or 6-way affinity supported.
Out of the same card, of course.
Correct. And full-size connections on the card. In terms of the card itself, you can see it's got an awesome backlit logo on there and limited to 1,000 pieces global production.
So this is going to be a very sought-after video card.
Yes, extremely limited edition, but a super high amount of power for those guys that really just kind of want the best of the best. They don't want to have to tweak, tune, do anything. They just want to drop this in there and, you know, be rocking with high image quality at high resolution. This is going to be the card of choice. Every card will come in a specialized collector's case and also have a limited edition serial number provided with the card.
Now, I imagine that you will probably bring a couple of these so you can do a quad Crossfire X demonstration for us.
We're going to see what we can definitely do. You know, we love our viewers and we love you guys over at Newegg, and we try to always give you guys an awesome experience in terms of giving you guys great content. So it's going to be extremely limited allocation, but I'm going to do my best to see if we can't make something happen.
If JJ can't get 2 of them, then nobody can get 2 of them. Right, so a couple other things to point out on the card, just to round everything out from the hardware perspective. We have 3 8-pin PCI Express power connectors.
That is correct.
What would the TDP be on this card?
You know, it's gonna vary because you have the turbo technology that's incorporated in there. But in terms of, you know, if you want to consider total power requirements, you're not going to want to run this with pretty much anything less than a 1,000 watt power supply.
Okay, so you need a nice juiced up power supply, really high quality one, of course. And then as you already mentioned, the Aries 2 light up logo, closed loop cooling solution. You got to set up and push-pull right now, which is...
and that can be modified. It's entirely unusable. The V-BIOS does control the actual ramping for the fans. Actually, most of the sound, all you guys are hearing, is actually from our awesome Coolants integrated water cooling setup. This card, almost essentially under load, is almost idle. It's almost quiet. So it's really impressive. This level of performance is actually this cool and this quiet.
That is beautiful. Okay, we have one other item actually in this case, which I know you can't tell us too much about, but I see we have a Raider, the Raider Express RAID card from ASUS.
Yeah, so can't confirm or deny whether it actually has something RAID, but
or this may or may not exist.
Yeah, but it is called the Raider Express, and this is a brand new segment for us, and we're entering storage. So this actually has come off from a huge amount of feedback from our enthusiast community that said, hey, ROG is always doing these really awesome devices. We'd love to actually see you guys do a high performance storage device. And actually at Computex we showed off the original Raider, which was actually a high-speed storage Thunderbolt-based device.
Okay.
But we decided to go ahead and continue to evolve that past that, and this is the fruition of all the work and effort that we've been doing. So over the last 10.5 months in terms of development, we've been working here on the Radar. We have a custom team that's done the topology, the layout, all the tuning, the firmware development. So we're really excited about it. And while we can't give you guys all the nitty and gritty specifics as far as the controller, capacities, firmware choices, and all that stuff, we want you to first and foremost know that validation, interoperability, and compatibility is the most important thing when it comes to storage. We spent a huge amount of time to make sure this device works right. Some of these devices in the past have had a lot of problems. Maybe they're not correctly booting, they don't post right. When you put them into RAID configurations with the motherboard, you do multiple GPU setups, something goes wrong. Yeah. And so we've spent a huge amount of time to make sure that it's effectively plug and play. We've done validation on all our active chipsets, so Z77, X79, AM3, and we have definitely gone out of our way to also make sure that it works on competitors' products. I think that the ID design is awesome, and it's going to look great with an ROG board, and we'd love to see it on an ASUS-enabled board, but the reality is, if a user's going to use it on somebody else's board, we still need to make sure that it works right.
So on behalf of JJ and ASUS, I would like to ask all of you for your patience in waiting for the Raider Express card to be perfected so that it will work in as awesome a fashion as we all know it will once you guys are finished with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of the performance and the overall usability, we're pretty much almost there. It's right now just kind of putting the last levels of polish on there. We're doing some really cool stuff on the software side that I think is going to add a lot of value to it. So as we get closer to the end of Q1, definitely keep your eyes locked towards Newegg TV. We'll make sure to give you guys some updates once it's getting ready to actually hit the market.
Awesome. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. We have more if you guys want to check it out for our Newegg TV CES 2013 coverage. Been talking to JJ here from ASUS about the Aries 2 dual 7970 GPU video card as well as the Raider Express, which may or may not exist.